All right, everybody, welcome to BO Boys for Thursday, June 29th. Fuck it. It's a raw feed. We're doing it live. I'm Clayton.
Yeah, I'm Pat. And Clayton, we got a big weekend preview episode. We got This Is It. This is the weekend of Indiana Jones 5 and the Dial of Destiny is coming out, and we're going to predict how it's going to do at the box office. The waiting is over. But before we get to the predictions, Clayton, we're going to go through some Hollywood news. It was a movie news. We're not going to talk about Streamo news or TV news or radio
No.
news. We're going to talk about some movie news. And I think we should start with the big news out of DC Films. James Gunn has found his Superman. He's found his Clark Kent. He's found his Lois Lane. The casting that everyone's been talking about is complete. So, Clayton, it's official. The newest Superman in the James Gunn Superman movies will be David Cornsweet, who you may know as someone who was in the movie Pearl, and we liked him in that. So David Cornsweet and Rachel Brosnahan from the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel TV shows. I don't know if she's ever been in a movie that I can think of. Nothing notable, but she's going to be Lois Lane. So I think the other news coming out of this is that the runner-up for Superman was Nicholas Hoult. So Renfield will not be Superman. And for Nicholas Hoult, I mean, apparently he has been the runner-up several times in his career. He was actually the runner-up to be Rooster in Top Gun Maverick.
Okay.
And he was the runner-up to play Batman in the Batman to Robert Pattinson. So yeah, a bitter pill for Nicholas Hoult. Though, do you think it is actually a blessed pill?
Well, I can't speak to the other two parts because Batman actors have gone on to do other things, or most of the time are already sort of established before they become Batman. And Rooster, I think, would have been a great part for any young actor.
Oh yeah, if he would have got those, that would have helped him. I'm saying he didn't get this Superman
But
part, and
that's what I was getting to.
Mhm.
The missing out on Superman is 100% a blessing
Okay,
because Superman is a character that has no personality, and Nicholas Hoult has
Mm,
too much personality. He brings too much to the part.
okay,
Now, we like this gentleman. At first, we were like, this guy looks just like another bland guy. And then we realized he is the projectionist that shows Pearl a porno in Pearl.
yes,
And it immediately perked me up. And I
yes,
thought, oh, wow, that's actually really interesting because he was very good, kind of a little sleazy in that movie. And
mm-hmm.
obviously, James Gunn, he came from a sleazy place. Now, is he going to bring some sleaze to this? Who knows? You
Could
know,
Superman show Lois Lane a porno in the office of the Daily Planet?
here's
Maybe
hoping.
that's James Gunn's Superman take.
Maybe they work for Vivid. Maybe
Right,
who knows where they work? Maybe they're not
right, right.
reporters.
Right,
So
or they're reporters from maybe it's a period piece, and and Clark Kent works at Screw magazine in the 80s.
it's that. I mean, listen, that's right up our alleys.
Right, right.
But the Nicholas Hoult thing is, I think that's such a blessing. No
Mhm.
Superman actor has really gone on to great success. I probably the one that is doing the best is Henry Cavill. He's doing okay, but he still hasn't found his place outside of Superman.
Well, he had the Watcher show, and again, we don't want to talk Streamo, and that
The
seemed to be
Witcher.
The Witcher,
The
and
Watcher
that's
is the
right,
Keanu Reeves movie that went to number 1
right.
with one of the lowest, opening weekends ever.
So he had The Witcher, and that seemed to be a successful post Superman thing. But then he screwed himself by trying to play Superman again, and he
Yeah.
left. He left The Witcher, and Dwayne the Rock Johnson promised him he'd be Superman again, and it blew up his career. So it's even the one who had the best success post Superman got screwed by being Superman.
Yeah, I think this Superman Legacy movie is going to be very difficult to make good because Superman, I don't think, is a viable IP at this point, even though he seems like he should be because he's the DC superhero other than Batman that people know the best, but
Right.
he has never translated well to a film other than the very first one because it was such a novelty. You could
Right.
believe a man can fly, right?
Right.
And
Right.
we did until now you watch it and you're like, "Oh, well, this looks terrible," but
Yeah,
we
obviously
can't
now we know he
judge
wasn't flying, yeah.
he wasn't flying, right? So I do think that it's interesting to talk about this casting. David Cornsweet, I mean, listen, you know, Godspeed, God bless, like save that money, whatever you
Right.
make from this, because who knows what's going to happen to you after this movie comes out.
Right, right, right. It's yeah, you look back the history of Hollywood is littered with the bodies of Supermen
Mhm.
post being Superman, and Brandon Routh is
He ended up on a
that was
CW
a Superman. That was a
he
Superman.
he ended up on a CW DC show not playing Superman.
Right, right. So the thing is, you gotta go for this part if it's available, and you gotta take it if it's offered. So David Cornsweet, it was in a impossible situation. You can't not try to be Superman.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're Leo, you're not auditioning to be Superman. But if you're David Cornsweet, this is a huge deal. It is James Gunn, who I think we've talked about this at BOHQ. My prediction is James Gunn will not be the head of DC Films when the James Gunn Superman comes out. I don't think his
Yeah.
reign as an executive is going to last very long, but he is a very good writer and a very good director. So even with a property as boring as Superman, my thought is he might write and direct a good Superman movie, and maybe David Cornsweet will get to be an interesting James Gunn version of Superman.
I
But
mean,
either
you
way,
said
he's got to take it. He's got
James
to take
Gunn,
it.
absolutely. It's a gilded cage you
Right.
have to
Yes.
hop into,
It's the
right?
Gilded Cape. Yes.
Yeah. So James Gunn said that these auditions for Superman were some of were the greatest superhero auditions he's ever seen. Okay.
The
This guy's
James
throwing
Gunn
around
overseeing.
greatest this, greatest that. He
Right.
needs to just stop it with
Yeah.
these. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, it's him and Tom Cruise out there saying everything's great, and they're losing some credibility.
Mm, mm. So, I mean, Tom Cruise, another news item is Tom Cruise is out there today waving tickets, apparently, that he has for Indiana Jones and the Dial of
Mhm.
Destiny. He says he's very excited about that. And he's also very excited about Oppenheimer. And he's also very excited about the Barbie movie. So Tom Cruise is out there shilling for, I mean, he already shilled for The Flash, that it was best superhero movies ever seen. And
That's a
uh,
disaster. It was a
but
disaster.
but if you parse that statement,
He's not
how many
seen, yeah, how many has he seen?
how many has he seen? There's a very good chance Tom Cruise has maybe never watched any of these movies. So
Maybe he saw Part of Steel on a plane.
right, right, right. So there is a good chance that's true, technically true, but it's
Yeah.
still it's a lot of Tom Cruise shilling for other stuff. So he's shilling for Indiana Jones, which, you know what? That one, to me, I get it because it's Harrison Ford, and these guys are the quintessential 80s and 90s stars. I'm sure Tom Cruise and Harrison Ford have been Hollywood buddies for a long time. So I get him
I mean,
saying, "You
I
don't
couldn't
think so?
imagine those 2 hanging out.
You don't
I
think
mean,
that?"
no. I mean, Harrison Ford is a surly pot smoker,
Right, right.
and Tom Cruise doesn't touch any sort of substance. So,
They're
what are they
they're a
gonna
bit of an
do?
odd couple. It's a bit of a Felix and what's the Tony Randall part?
Oscar?
Oscar. It's a bit of a Felix and Oscar situation there with Tom Cruise and Harrison Ford, but the odd couple got along. you could see Harrison Ford dropping a giant blunt on the floor, and then Tom Cruise, gets his cane or gets his walking stick and stabs it and picks it up and throws it in the garbage. You could see that.
I don't know. I mean, here's the
So you
thing
don't
with
think they're
this.
friends? Okay.
I don't think they're friends,
Okay.
but you have a reasoning for this.
Yeah.
Why you think this is happening.
So this is my theory on why Tom Cruise has been doing so much shilling. He's got Dead Reckoning coming out on, what is it, July 14th. And
Mhm.
you can't, we said this with Kirk Minahan. You can't bribe Tom Cruise with the money. He's got all the
No.
money. You can't bribe Tom Cruise with women. You just can't do
No.
that. It's what could you bribe Tom Cruise with? The only thing he cares about in this day and age are giant screens. And
Mhm.
so I think what's happening is he's doing these favors for the other studios. He helped Warner Brothers, said The Flash is great, and he's helping Disney saying Indy's great, and he's helping Warner Brothers saying that Oppenheimer is, or helping Universal with Oppenheimer, helping Warner Brothers with Barbie. And I do think in return, he's getting some IMAX screens and some Dolby screens and some PLFs in exchange for his plugs,
He
because
must be
it's
because
got to be.
he
It's the
was out
only thing he
there
cares about.
he was out there trying to get these screens publicly, right? He
Yes.
publicly said, "I want more of these screens."
Right.
And that is the vinegar approach.
Yes.
What he's
Yes.
doing now is the honey approach.
Yes. Yes.
And of course, we know you get more flies with honey than you do with vinegar,
Right.
correct?
Right.
And so that is what he's doing. He's collecting screens
Mhm.
from these companies, right? He's saying, I want some from Dial of Destiny. So Disney, that's why he is promoting Dial of Destiny, right? He
Right.
promoted The Flash. Barbie is Warner Brothers, right? Now, Oppenheimer is
Universal. Yeah,
Universal, right?
Universal stole, quote unquote, stole Nolan from Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
So, that,
So,
and that's the big one.
yeah.
That is his big uh barrier for holding on to all the Dead Reckoning screens, because Reckoning opens on the 14th, and then Oppenheimer and Barbie are the 21st.
Mhm.
And so he does need to work something out with Universal to get some of those screens. He can't have Dead Reckoning just lose all of its IMAX screens after 1 week to Oppenheimer. He
And
knows that that would be a disaster.
Barbie is not I don't know what the number for Barbie with PLFs is, but it's not high. And if it's not, if any. I mean, we don't know how many PLFs Barbie's gonna get, but it's gonna be way, 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 way less than
Oh yeah.
Oppenheimer because
Yeah.
Oppenheimer grabbed all those up. So
Yeah.
it's mostly just, you know, it's mostly just like he wants to have a good relationship with all these other studios so he can grab these screens.
Right, right, right. I think that's I can't fathom and listen, of course, Tom Cruise loves the movies. He loves theatrical. He wants
Yeah, and he did
theatrical
the
to
same thing with
exceed.
Tenet. He
Yeah,
did
he
the same
did.
thing
He
with
did.
Tenet. He went back with the big mask on and said Tenet is great, and we let it slide,
Right.
right?
But Tenet wasn't playing at the same time as a Tom Cruise movie.
Yeah.
That he didn't have any competitive situation at the time with Tenet. If he's
Mhm.
telling everyone you got to go see Oppenheimer, that's coming out in the second weekend of Dead Reckoning. So he's got to
Yeah.
be doing this for a reason.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, that and the screen thing is the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's got to be the screens. One last thing, just to close the loop on the Superman casting news. Any thoughts for you on Rachel Brosnahan being Lois Lane, following in the tradition of
N
Margot Kidder, and of course, I would say maybe the actress who got the most out of playing Lois Lane is Terry Hatcher. I feel like Terry Hatcher might be the
TV doesn't matter.
doesn't matter. Who played Lois Lane in the Brandon Ruth Superman? Was it Kate Bosworth?
It was Kate Bosworth.
And then it's Amy Adams,
who
who
already had a career,
yeah, it's
and
so
people I
bizarre
think
she played Lois
forget
Lane.
she was Lois Lane,
Yeah,
you know? I don't think she
yeah,
likes it being brought up. I
yeah,
wouldn't bring it up to her if I ever met her.
yeah. No, 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 I definitely not. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, Rachel Brosnahan, it's a potential star-making
No,
situation, you would think, but
no.
not yeah,
It's never made anybody a star,
yeah.
okay? She has her lane, which is TV, right?
Mhm.
She's a TV actress, and, that show is, I guess, not on anymore, or its last season is wrapping up. I mean,
Yeah.
it's one of
Or it
those
has 5
shows
more
that
seasons to go. We're not sure.
exactly, it's one of
We're
those
not sure.
shows that is just propelled by a minuscule audience saying it's great, and
Right.
everybody else in the real world not giving a shit. I mean, I tried to watch one episode and then I clicked over to buy toilet paper because that's
Mhm.
where, that's where that TV show is shown.
Right.
So, I think this
But
is
that's a success for Amazon. You bought the toilet paper, so Marvelous Mrs. Maisel did its job.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if anybody can, if anybody has strong feelings about her, then let us know, like,
Let us
email
know.
us,
Yeah.
but I have 0 feelings about her.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. So, one more piece of news to throw out here is Comic-Con is coming up at the end of July. So, the big news about San Diego Comic-Con is I will be out there doing
Mhm.
some boots on the ground reporting. I will be in San Diego for Comic-Con. Haven't decided whether I'll be hosting a panel or not yet. I'm still figuring out my schedule. But Wannabe intern Christopher will also be joining me at San Diego Comic Con. So we're going to be out there getting boots on the ground reporting, talking to fans, talking to movie makers. We're going to be out there with the microphones, thrusting them in people's faces. So that's something to look forward to. We're also going to be seeing. We got our tickets to see Barbie on Friday, July 21st. So we got our Barbie tickets. Very excited. But we may be two of the biggest stars appearing at Comic Con because the news out there right now is that a lot of studios are going to be skipping San Diego Comic Con. I mean, I think the big one is it looks like Marvel Studios will not be putting on any panels at San Diego Comic Con.
Mhm.
So, and there's other studios saying here taking a wait and see approach. Warner Brothers has not ruled out fully skipping Comic Con. Paramount Pictures right now is only scheduled to have a panel for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem. So, Comic Con is usually where there's a lot of big, splashy announcements and trailers. And I mean, my prediction is that DC will do something with the Superman and Lois Lane and James Gunn. I think they will be out there. I'd be shocked if they don't trot out Brosnahan and what's his name, David Cornsweet.
Cornsweet.
I think David Cornsweet will be there, but yeah, if Marvel is not going to be there, I mean, what do you make of this? Marvel not going?
Well,
Is it just
hasn't Marvel skipped Comic Cons in the past?
they have, but they've got the Marvels coming out in November, so you would
Well, they
think
certainly don't wanna promote that because, I mean, that the buzz is gonna be, I think they're learning from stuff like, Con, that there's no reason to show this stuff early because people are just gonna rip it apart.
right,
I think
right,
that's the thing is, like, I
mhm,
think that it doesn't behoove, when you're at the top of your game and you're at the top of the world and any sort of footage you show of any sort of film is gonna get rapturous applause and fawning on the internet, then of course you wanna go there every week, I'm sorry, every year and show your wares. But now you're hiding this stuff. You're like, you do not wanna put out 10, 15 minutes of Marvels to
right,
get shredded online, to get
right, right.
bootlegged and shredded online. There's no reason for you to do it.
Do
And
you
they can
think?
use the strike. They can use, I mean, again,
Mhm,
Marvel again expertly using the strike to obfuscate their true problems.
okay. Do you think that these studios, you've had this run of failed, disliked superhero movies
Mhm.
and IP property movies other than Super Mario that have been rejected by fans? Do you think that these studios are just scared that the nerds are very angry right now and they are scared of putting their stars and their
Yes.
product in front of these giant halls of angry nerds?
When you look at there's been a rash lately of people throwing objects at musical artists. Now, I know that's
Okay.
always been a thing, but it's happening
Yeah.
more and more
Altamont,
frequently.
yeah.
Well, Ultimate was a whole different beast,
Right. But there was, I'm sure,
if they were just throwing stuff, then that's, there's
right.
that would have been a best case scenario for
Right.
Ultimate. But I think, yes, I think you have angry dorks. I think
Yeah.
dorks are going to
Yeah.
throw things
Mhm.
at these actors and
Right.
these executives and these directors. I think that's a huge possibility. If I was somebody that was in a superhero movie, I'd say, I'm not exposing myself on stage.
Right. 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 If you're Jason Momoa, you got Aquaman 2 coming out in December, you would think July Comic-Con, perfect time to go out there, flex, show off the updated Aquaman costume, show 10 minutes of the movie, whatever. But
No way.
Jason Momoa is a big guy, but if nerds start throwing chairs, it don't matter how jacked you are, that's gonna hurt. The
Mhm.
nerds throwing chairs, the nerds throwing, even if the nerds are just
No,
throwing soda.
they'll be throwing like manga books,
Right.
at I mean, they're not gonna be picking up chairs. That's too
Right, but no
heavy.
matter how jacked he is, he's susceptible to paper cuts. When nerd
Yeah.
hits him at the right angle with a comic book, Momoa's getting a paper cut.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I think that's the reasoning. I mean, I
yeah,
wouldn't put my product up there to get shellacked, and I wouldn't put my stars up there to get smacked.
yeah, yeah. Now, well, listen, myself and wannabe intern Christopher, we're going to be right in the middle of this, and the nerds are angry because the superhero movies have not been good this year. But the nerds might be even angrier because the superhero movies weren't good and the stars of those superhero movies aren't going to be on stage. So it's
I
it's
mean,
going to
we
be a wild
know
situation.
there's no pleasing fans. Like, there's rabid fans cannot be pleased in any capacity.
I think the Mario fans are pretty pleased. I think you could have a panel
For
that just
now.
celebrates
For
Mario.
now.
Sure, but you've
For
got to
now.
pick your time. So I think Nintendo throws a panel in at Comic Con, it's going to go great because those fans are very happy. You trot the Rock out there teasing Black Adam 2. He's getting hit again with paper straws and such. It's going to be a disaster.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, is that your take on it? I mean,
I,
do you
I
know,
think so.
are you going to, I mean, I know you're there for other reasons, but are there any panels currently that you are going to go see?
No, no. I listen, to get into these big Hall H panels, you're sleeping outside, and I barely like walking outside at
Mhm.
this event. So no, I will not be sleeping outside, camping, peeing into a Walking Dead collectible water bottle in the middle of the night so I could get into a panel. That will
Yeah.
not be happening. But I will be there. I'll be on site and I will be I'll be following the news. So
Yeah.
I will be there. So we'll see. So I think it's time. Let's get into our weekend preview of what's coming out. So the big one, of course, is Indiana Jones 5, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Harrison Ford's back. Our baby of the week, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, is the co-star, and
Oh, you can't steal
this
that.
is the
That's
movie.
Kirk. That's Kirk Minahan's thing, Babe of the Week. You can't steal that.
You're right. That is a Barstool thing. I apologize, Kirk. So Phoebe Waller-Bridge is the Barstool baby of the week. So
Let them pick the Babe of the Week.
let them pick it.
Okay.
I know. Listen, who else would it be? So anyway, here's the deal. This movie comes out, famously premiered at Cannes to a disastrous debut back in May. The Rotten Tomatoes score, critical reviews have gone up. It is now officially fresh at like 66%, which that's fresh. I mean, I feel like back in school, the kids who were getting 66% were failing. But
Yeah, that is exceedingly not fresh.
yeah, that is not fresh. But I mean, here it is. This was
If you ate a
supposed
tomato that was 66% fresh, you wouldn't eat it.
right. No one ever looks no one ever looks at actually eating a tomato unless a tomato looks perfect, you don't even consider biting into it.
Exactly. I mean, obviously it's faulty. We all know it's
It's
faulty.
faulty.
This has been said many times by many
Yeah.
different people, but it is the case. I mean, I'm not eating anything but a flawless tomato at
Yeah.
this age and where I live.
So right now, the current tracking for the 3-day weekend, we're not talking about 5-day weekends with 4th of July and all that. We're looking at the 3-day weekend. The box office pro tracking as of right now has this between 60 and 77 million dollars. And obviously that's lower than the studio would have hoped when they announced this. It's lower than the tracking looked like it would have been 6 months ago, and it's lower than the Indiana Jones 4 and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull did in May of 2008. That movie opened to $100 million 3-day. But here's the thing. Was it always crazy to have expected this movie to open much higher than what this tracking is? Why was there ever a time when anyone could have thought this fifth Indiana Jones movie was also going to open to 90 or $100 million?
Oh, well, what did Crystal Skull open to?
I just said that opened to 100 million, but that is
Okay.
2008. That is 15 years ago.
Yeah.
That that it there
And that
was
also
a
had I mean, and that, listen, that also had Shia LaBeouf in it.
it also had Shia LaBeouf, and it also just had a much younger Harrison Ford, who, even though at that point, 2008, Harrison Ford was on a very bad run. His
Mhm.
peak stardom was pretty much long over. Air Force One in the late 90s and What Lies Beneath, I think in 99 or 2000.
That
Those
that
are
was
the
2000,
last.
I believe.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that is the last big hit for Harrison Ford. He went on a
Mhm.
long losing streak and then had Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull in 2008. But even then, he's still closer to having been Harrison Ford than he is
Mhm.
now. Because I mean, Harrison Ford in the 80s and 90s is up there with Cruise, Hanks, Denzel, like he is
Yeah.
as big of a sure thing movie star as it gets. So even in 2008, you're still looking at Harrison Ford that way. Audiences in 2023, he's so far removed from that, so far removed. And
Yes.
Indiana Jones isn't Star Wars in that Indiana Jones is a star part. It's a star vehicle. And if Harrison Ford doesn't feel like a giant star anymore, then the IP is not going to work as well. It's just not.
I mean, we have seen though in the past, what, 20 years plus, most stars or most, actors cannot succeed in films that aren't part of a a series of movies like Bad Boys or Men in Black or whatnot. You know what I mean? Like Will Smith was having difficulties after his like Imperial phase of being in hit movies that weren't part of you know some sort of series that had already been popular. You know what I mean?
Right, right, right,
And so I do think that Harrison Ford returning to this, which is other than Han Solo, his star part,
right,
could bring people in and not the people that necessarily always proclaim they're going to see a movie beforehand, right? This is a legacy actor in a legacy role. And listen, this movie is not going to be Maverick. I'm not saying it's
No,
going to be Maverick,
no.
but Harrison Ford is a guy who is currently or was currently, not, I can't say was currently because you're either currently or not, but he is currently in a streaming show, right? 1923. Is that the one he's in?
He's in that. Yeah, he's
And
got a Taylor Sheridan
Taylor Sheridan,
Yellowstone
which
show, yeah.
are the biggest thing going
Mhm.
on TV and streaming and in the heartland, okay?
Okay.
And he is one of their guys, okay? Was a carpenter,
Mhm.
you know, salt of the earth, man of the people, even though he
Right.
was like, he's born in Southern California or whatever, right?
But he
Wasn't
looks
he?
rugged. He looks
But he
rugged.
looks
Not a
rugged.
pretty boy, yeah.
And he does, now he's part of the Tyler Sheridan family. He
Yeah, yeah.
is a cowboy. So there is that element of there's so many people who watch that who don't go to the movies. Okay. They maybe saw Maverick and that's it, you know? And so we got an email, and this was from June 10th. So it's a
Okay.
while ago, but it wasn't, we said we were going to get to it when we got to it. This is from Wannabeo person, BL.
Mhm. Mhm.
By all indications, Indiana Jones 5 will not be a classic, but you are downplaying the amount of old fans, I am over 60, that will come
Mhm.
out to the theaters no matter what. And it's the last Indy, okay? Now, this is we've talked before about older people maybe not wanting to reckon with their mortality. But I think there is a large swath of the population who are that age and are comfortable reckoning with it. Do you know
Oh,
what I mean?
wow.
And
Okay.
I do think that there could be 60 plus year olds who are like, how is Indy going to deal with the twilight of his life? And can I use that to prepare for the twilight of my life? Right? There could be some aspirational aspects to this where it's like Indy's an old dude who's still doing it, but he knows it's going to end. So how is he going to deal with it, and how can I parallel that in my real life? There's a
Okay.
possibility that these people are out there and they're not tweeting, okay?
There is that, but what you just described there, that doesn't sound to me like an indie film as in Indiana Jones. That sounds like an indie film as in like directed by David Lowery. This you're talking about a older people reckoning with the end of their life. This is a movie series where the enduring image is a young man running away from a giant boulder. You know, their Disney wants a giant summer movie. They don't want Harrison Ford in a version of Amour.
Yeah, but
So
I'm telling you though, I mean, this is a movie that is directed by who's the director on this one? This is the James Mangold.
yes, the director of Logan, Ford v Ferrari. Yes.
And listen, Logan was a movie about an old guy who dies. Okay? So
Yeah.
he can make populist entertainment about that. All right? I'm not saying that's what this movie is, and I'm just throwing out a theory here as to
Right.
why we are underestimating this film. And listen, you can also make this fun. It doesn't have to be
It's
not
got to
fun.
be fun. I mean, that's the thing is this movie, it's an Indiana Jones movie. If this is just a sad contemplation about mortality, it, it, it maybe that could have won awards, though you would have thought it would have had a better reception at Cannes, but it ain't open into 90 or $100 million. That's just the facts.
Yeah, I mean, but we could be underestimating, like I'm saying, who this movie is going to play really well with. Is it going to play with the Gen Z? Probably not, but it could do really well with older audiences over the 4th of July.
Well, the thing is, we're only looking at the 3 day, and we're looking at the opening weekend. So if what we're looking at is a movie that is going to have a much older fan base, And I agree, and we talked about this with Kirk Minahan a few episodes ago, that Indiana Jones doesn't seem to be an IP that is endured the way Star Wars had, or at least it hasn't picked up big amounts of young fans the way Star Wars had. Indiana Jones very much does feel like a 1980s property that already had its revival in 2008. You know,
Yeah.
that I think that's the thing here is for fans of Indiana Jones, they went to see him one last time in what was not a very good movie in 2008. And the question
Yeah.
is, do they want that again 15 years later? And if this is an older audience and we're looking at the opening weekend, will that older audience come out to put this at 70 or 80 million dollars, or are they the type of audience that doesn't need to go right away? So the opening weekend of this movie, I understand why the estimates have gotten down to 60 million or so, because if it's an
Mhm.
older audience, they'll go next Wednesday if they want to go. They're not going to necessarily go Friday night.
But so we got an email from wannabe oh boy Austin,
Okay.
who is not only a wannabe oh boy, but a stoolie. So
Yes.
so of course he is.
Yeah.
Now, he mentioned that, this audience that we're talking about hasn't been served well so far this summer. They
True.
had Top Gun, Elvis, Crawdads last summer. Now they haven't had anything. So there could be a built up level of, "Hey, I really enjoyed going to the movies last summer. What's playing? Oh, Indy Harrison Ford, 1923 guy?" Right? I mean,
Mhm.
there's a possibility that they will, I'm not gonna say rush out because it's gonna be more of a mosey, but they're gonna mosey out to it.
Yeah. They can't rush. You don't want these fans getting hurt.
They're not
Take it
gonna
slow.
run out to Thursday, but they might eventually get there by Sunday.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's a strong possibility here.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. I think, obviously we want to do most of our talking about this when we get the results on Monday. Do you
Mhm.
see any other added value elements for this Indiana Jones movies that could get people out there? I mean, with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, you had the elements of it was the first sequel since
Yeah.
the beloved third movie, plus you had I'm forgetting the name of the co-star in it that
Shia
was
LaBeouf?
Shia LaBeouf, of course. You had Shia LaBeouf, who
How
was
dare you?
a Shia LaBeouf at the time
Wrong
was
with
a
you?
big rising star. He was definitely a value add in 2008. Um, and you even had Kate Blanchett as playing a villain. I think that did mean something at the time. This Indiana Jones movie, it really is just adding Phoebe Waller-Bridge to the mix. They did not go get a big name villain. I know it's Mads Mikkelsen is the villain. I don't he's a internet favorite, but I do not think he matters at all at
No.
all.
Not with the
They did
general public, no.
no, they didn't go out there and get a big star to play a villain. They just didn't do it. Or get a Chris Evans or someone like that, just a name person to play the villain. They didn't do that. So I think that's the other problem. The only thing that this movie has going for it is, do you want to see an old Indiana Jones? So we'll
Well, I mean,
see. We'll see what
you're
that
you're the
audience is.
Phoebe Waller-Bridger fan. What would you say she adds monetarily? How much? How much would she bring in?
I mean,
How
she's
much are
definitely
all those Emmys in 2019 worth?
I mean, my ticket for sure is me going there. There's a very good chance a Phoebe Waller-Bridge less Indiana Jones 5, I end up seeing this on streaming. I'll see in the theater because she's going to be in it. I think the problem is it's been a long time since Fleabag. It's been 5 or 6 years since she won all those Emmys. And as much as it pains me to say it, I don't think she cost this movie anything. I think all of the bizarre, stuff going on online, I don't think any of that's true. But I
They
don't think
wouldn't
she
see the movie anyway.
yeah, I don't think though she's really bringing a new audience to this. I have to admit, I don't think that's going to happen here. I don't think it capitalized enough right from her moment of fame for it to be worth it. I think she's going to be great in the
But that's
movie.
I mean, that's not her fault.
No, no, this is when the movie came out, you know.
Yeah.
And I think she'll be very good in this, I predict, but I don't think her star power brings any opening weekend box office. I don't think so. I don't think there's a value add that I could see with this movie, and I think that's the big problem.
Now, I think we need to, before we get to that Teenage Kraken movie, which I just don't think is going to impact anything other
Okay.
than maybe Elemental, but there is a film that we
Yes.
were tipped off about by Adam from the
Mhm.
Stacks,
Yep.
another OG wannabe oh boy,
Yeah, from the beginning. Yeah,
from
he
the very
started at the
beginning.
bottom and he's here. Yeah.
Yeah. And that very well could cut into the older audience for indie.
Well, say the name of what is this
Well,
movie that Adam.
let me. You're the one. What is the name of this movie, Pat?
Okay, so
Because you have all the information.
I'm gonna read from Adam and the Stacks. Adam from the Stacks told us, "Bo boys."
No, only the
Uh,
pertinent information.
yeah,
Only
yeah.
only
Well,
the pertinent
basically,
information.
the thing is, there's a movie with Jim Caviezel, who of course played Jesus in Passion of the Christ,
One of the biggest
and
films ever, box
one of the
office
biggest
wise.
films, huge film. He's starring in a film called The Sound of Freedom, and this movie is from what is the name of the studio
Angel
here?
Studios, who brought us The Chosen.
Yes. So it is a movie about Jim Caviezel as a cop or some kind of law enforcement agent who saves a child who's been kidnapped. It's a film about fighting child trafficking, and there is an audience. He says that there is a religious audience out there, that a conservative audience out there that is forming a groundswell for this movie. And they specifically have started a campaign to sell 2 million tickets to represent 2 million kids who have been sex trafficked. So,
Yes.
listen, we're not looking into these statistics of how many kids get, but the thing is, it is a catchy campaign. It is very catchy. Sell 2 million tickets to represent 2 million kids. Angel Studios, that is a marketing plan.
It is
And
a very
so,
good marketing plan. Who does not want to end child trafficking?
exactly. And so they're basically, they've also created, or I don't know if this is a format that's existed, but Anna from the Stacks tipped us off that there is a pay it forward system for buying tickets that they've set up where people could buy tickets to this movie. They could buy tickets to Sound of Freedom for other people through this pay it forward system. And they have basically gamified the buying of these tickets. They have made it a mission amongst this, group of religious or conservative audience members, whatever group they're targeting there. These people are buying tickets with a purpose, but in the end, that equals box office. And that's obviously all we care about here.
Yeah.
So on Angel Studios site, you could actually see a live counting because they've sort of made it look like a GoFundMe type of setup where you could see how many
Okay.
people are buying tickets. And on their website, you could see the tickets activity. And I'm looking at it right now. They've sold 568,000 tickets for this. And again, their goal is to sell 2 million tickets for the movie opening this weekend. So let's pretend it's $10, just to have a clean number, a $10 average ticket price.
Yeah. Yeah.
That means they've sold, if this counter on their website is legitimate, and I have no reason to believe it's not,
Yeah.
that means they've sold $5.6 million worth of tickets for this weekend already.
Hmm.
Already. We know how many tickets it sold if that counter is legitimate.
Yes.
And they're aiming to sell 2 million tickets by this weekend. And at a $10 ticket average, that's $20 million. That's $20 million, Clayton.
So right now, if that happens, okay,
Yeah.
then that would be the number 2 movie in America this weekend.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
we also got word from Adam from the Stacks that it's opening on Sunday.
It's apparently, yeah, it's opening on Sunday. He admits he thinks that it blows his mind. Please explain why this would be, he asks us. I mean, he kind of, I think, answers it in his next line as he's saying, this is from Adam from the Stacks. My only theory is they're promoting this film as a spiritual experience, a transcendent, patriotic event that serves your Sunday worship. So that is his
Go
theory.
yeah,
It makes
go after
sense.
it's a church bus movie
It's a church bus movie. It's a
where
church bus
you
movie.
can purchase tickets for other bus denizens,
Right.
beforehand, right? So
Right.
you can fill up these buses.
Mhm.
So I
I
think
still
the
would have
weird
opened that
thing
on Friday. I mean, I get the
you
religious
got to.
symbolism
No,
of Friday of Sunday, but open it on Friday. Come on, guys.
do Thursday previews. I mean, open it like a real
Yes.
movie
Yes.
for I was about to use the Lord's name in vain, which I'm not going to do during this conversation, but um for goodness sake, open it on a
Yes.
Thursday. Have it
Yes.
cuz if you want this to impact, then you need it to open on Thursday because if it's only going to it's going to open on Sunday and people bought 2 million tickets, that's not those are going to be spread out, right? Those are going to be not every showing is on Sunday exclusively, I'm assuming, right? So
I
we need
I
to know
don't
more
kn
information about this.
Well, here's what could screw them in the reporting of this is, let's say all of their tickets, they sell 1,000,000 tickets. I think 2,000,000 tickets is a very lofty goal, but say they sell 1,000,000 tickets and $10 average price, and they sell $10 million worth of ticket, $10 million worth of tickets for Sunday. When the estimates start coming in based on the Friday numbers and the Saturday numbers,
They won't be there.
and they will this movie will have sold will look like it's going to make $0, and
Mhm.
that'll be the estimate, when in actuality all of the ticket sales are on Sunday. So yeah, they should have spread this out. Again, we get the symbolism, of, Sunday church, all
Huh.
that, but it just it's a movie. It's a movie.
And,
It's a movie.
and this is a movie that is being shown in every theater in New York, basically. I mean, you
Yes.
looked it up, Pat. It's playing
Yes.
in major theaters. So this is
Yes.
not something that is getting played in tents, out in fields some places, which it
No.
might, but not primarily. It is in AMC's and Regals. This
It
is a
is.
legitimate movie that it has a groundswell or a guerrilla marketing that is. We'll see. I mean, this
A
could be big, but
and
the
I'm
way it's
looking
reported is going to be interesting, and it could damage the impact of this
right.
if it is reported in a way that is confusing.
Right, right, right. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the New York City showtimes for Sound of Freedom, and again, it is playing all the big theaters, Regal Union Square and 42nd Street and Astoria
How many
Kaufman.
showings?
It's got 3, 4 showings a day. All these
Okay.
theaters, I'm not seeing anything less than 3 showings. The AMC at 42nd Street, Times Square, is got 7 showings. So this is
Okay.
a real
But no
release.
PLFs, no PLFs.
I don't think this is gonna get a IMAX screens. I don't
No.
think that, Sound of Freedom is getting any IMAXs, but this is a fascinating piece of reporting from Adam from the Stacks that, again, I'm looking at a live counter, which I wish all movies did what Angel Studios is doing in terms of the upfront reporting of how many tickets
Yeah.
they've sold. I mean, how
I love
fascinating
this
would it be
radical
to see,
honesty.
yeah, to see just a live accounting of how many tickets Indiana Jones has sold.
Oh, it'd be amazing. It'd be amazing.
Um, but apparently they've sold $5.6 million worth of movie tickets.
Now,
So,
what are the chances of
mhm,
someone, say, like Mark Wahlberg,
right.
who is very big in this space and trying to bring religious films to the mainstream?
Right, right.
What is keeping him, and I know obviously he has nothing to do with Angel Studios, but, you know, why doesn't he buy just a bunch of tickets?
Why
He
doesn't
doesn't have to go, but he buys a
right.
bunch of tickets, and this movie makes $20 million. That greases the tracks for more of these movies to be made,
I
which
guess
behooves
so.
him.
I think Mark Wahlberg, though, just assumes the only thing you need to get people to a Mark Wahlberg movie is Mark Wahlberg, not for
But
the
it's about the message.
I guess
It's
so.
about the message for him.
We'd have to ask Mark Wahlberg that. I think that this is a situation where this studio, Angel Studios, could have got a Tom Cruise like endorsement from a Mark Wahlberg.
Well,
The
here's the
way,
thing. Here's the thing, though. You're
but does
bringing
Mark
up Tom
Wahlberg need
Cruise.
these screens?
Well, that's the only reason why Tom Cruise isn't promoting this is because they have no PLFs to give him.
Yes, yes. Oh, if Sound of Freedom had even a single PLF scheduled for July 14th, Tom Cruise would say Sound of Freedom is the best anti-child trafficking movie he's ever seen
And then
to
snatch
get
that
that screen
IMAX.
and snatch that IMAX back 100%.
Yeah.
So we'll see. All right, so
Teen
we're gonna follow
Kraken,
that
let's talk about it.
teen. So Ruby Gillman, Teen Kraken is a film that I first became aware of about a week ago when I saw this trailer before I saw Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. And previous to that, I have not heard of this movie. And most people haven't because it was just moved onto this release date like 6 weeks ago. Apparently, this
Mhm.
was a very rushed change. And this is coming out from Universal and DreamWorks Animation. And Kraken are what? Things that live under the sea. They're like
Yeah.
fish-like
They're
creatures.
like
It's an animated.
monsters.
So they're under. Are they real monsters or are they
No,
are
Kraken aren't
they
real.
Kraken or not real? I don't know.
They're mythological characters, I believe.
Listen, I mean, as we all know, don't mess with the sea. And God only knows what's running around underwater. I mean, you see some of these fish. Is there any difference between these fish and a winged unicorn or like
Spoken
a
like a
goblin?
true New Yorker.
Yeah, don't go in the water because there's monsters under there. But this Kraken movie, the tracking on this is $6 to $9 million. And I'm just going to go out and say it. I think this is going to be way under. This is going to be like, to me, I think this is a $3 million opening. And the reason is no one knows what this is. It's not IP. And Elemental is having a great resurgence. And I
All
think
right,
that is
here
going
we
to
go.
be where all the families, obviously Spider Man Across the Spider Verse, but I think Elemental is going to be the choice
You're
of
being so
families this weekend.
disrespectful to young girls
Okay.
who
I don't want to
are
be.
okay. I don't think I think you're going against something we always say, the rats need their cheese. The rats need
Mm-hmm.
new cheese, okay? So, everybody was touting this Elemental winning Discount Tuesdays. Great. So, a bunch of cheapskates went and saw this movie, okay? Here's what I'll tell you. If Elemental was a movie people wanted to see, they wouldn't have to wait
Oh boy.
for cheapo tickets, okay, to see
Every
this movie.
okay.
Pixar used to be rush out and see it no matter what. Now it is wait and see. Elemental is a wait and see picture, okay? This and you mentioned, and this is great that you gave me this ammunition because we had this conversation on the last episode. Things were getting heated, and you were throwing all these numbers at why this drop was great and this drop was great. And I said, this movie has to drop or go up. Elemental is what I'm talking about in
Right.
its next weekend in order to be a success. Like a little movie called Puss in Boots, okay? That is a run. Puss in Boots is a run. A movie that goes up in its second weekend and then does drops of 3%, okay? Like that is what we're talking about here. All right?
Mm-hmm.
So the thing with this movie
Okay.
Elemental is
Okay.
that
Still on
It can
Elemental.
it cannot mount a run because it's gonna be on Disney Plus in, like, 45 days, because it doesn't make sense for Disney to keep this on screens when it could have screens for indie, okay? It doesn't make sense for this movie to continue to be in theaters the way that Puss in Boots was in theaters, okay? It doesn't make sense to do that because
Uh,
it's not going to make its money back. Everybody's touting this as, oh, well, this is a good sign that things could possibly turn around for Pixar. The
oh, that
original
I feel
Pixar
like that
movies,
was unnecessary. That was
it's
unnecessary.
on a lot of
All of the
tweets.
Disney
Look
adults,
at the tweets. It all they end with, ugh. They end
the
with that.
Disney adults don't all sound like that. They don't
That's
all sound like that.
that's what they sound like, okay? So the thing with this movie is that it is not going to be able to mount a run because it doesn't make sense for it to mount a run. Maybe it's not going to be a complete disaster, but if that is a success in people's mind for Pixar, then that's pathetic.
But we're talking about this weekend and how it'll play out in terms of what the kids and the families are going to want to see with this Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken. And to me, they're going to want to catch up on Elemental. And I think that is going to be a reason why Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken, even though the rats need their cheese, I think Elemental will be their cheese. I think
Did you
this
say
Teenage
teenage
Kraken.
I think you got confused with
Again, I don't
trafficking and Kraken.
is listen, Kraken trafficking is also a problem, and that's why we have to sell 2 million tickets to Ruby Gillman.
Now that's a promotion.
Yeah. I mean, there's no promotion for this movie. Eh, Honestly, Universal should have given this one to Angel Studios and see what they could have worked
I'll
with
tell
this,
you
come up
what,
with
the
some kind of
reason this is
angle
gonna
here.
do poorly, and I don't think it's gonna do as poorly as you're saying, but I think it's gonna do poorly, like you said, because the awareness is very low on this.
The
I
awareness is
mean,
very low.
I walk by a bus stop that has this, a big poster, and that's the only awareness I have of this, but I
Yeah.
walk by it every day.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, I don't think that's gonna be enough. I mean, maybe there's ads for it on kids programming on TV, but I feel like this is just maybe not a dump, but it's something's going on with the accounting for them to just throw this out in the theater so close to the release date. So
I
do
mean,
we
I
want
think
to
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a weird weekend to do it, but I guess I don't know when else. Maybe August you throw this in the theaters?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense in the way that Indiana Jones is the other big movie coming out, and obviously that is not going after youngsters and families.
And maybe it's a to grab the wake of Little Mermaid,
I could
right?
see that. I could see that you've got this group of younger girls and women who are excited because people like that Little Mermaid movie, but that's kind of like, had its box office run, and you try and tell them, well, here's the new girls under the sea animated adventure. So
Mhm.
possibly it gets some mermaid runoff. But let's get into our top 5 predictions for this weekend.
Yeah, and we're just doing the 3-day. We're not doing these
No,
padded out 5 days that they're gonna try to tout as successes here.
no, no. I mean, Monday is just July 3rd. So
Mhm.
Monday is not a holiday. I know a lot
Mhm.
of people are off on Monday, but 3rd of July ain't a holiday. So
Mhm.
sorry, this is a 3-day weekend,
These
and that's
movie
how it'll be
companies
treated.
love it though, because they love being able to boost the numbers for their opening weekends. If they could
Right.
do a 7-day opening weekend, they do it, and we'll
Well,
see
that's
it
what
someday.
that, of course, I mean, go back in the archives. That is what Tenet tried
Tenet did.
in,
Tenet did like
the
a 28-day opening weekend.
yeah, yeah. So, and we broke that all down. So, if you're a new listener to the BO Boys, go back in the archives, listen to summer 2020, relive that time with the BO Boys. So, let's do our top fives. Clayton, would you like to go first with your top 5 predictions for the weekend of Friday, June 30th? Yes, June 30th.
Why not? Here's how old is Harrison Ford?
He's gotta be 80. I'm gonna say he's 80, but I'll look it up right now. I think he is 80 years old, and I nailed
Oh,
it. He is
jeez,
80
he's
years
80.
old.
Yeah, you're
He's
right.
80 years old. He's very, very old. That is not a value add for the lead to be that old.
So then, let me do something real quick, and, um
I
okay,
mean, do you
so
do you
in
think the BO hits his
2008,
age?
yeah, well, I was gonna say that, but 80 is too high. I
Yeah.
think I'm gonna go with the age that he was when the 2008 film came out, and that
Oh,
would be
okay.
66.
Wow. So
So I'm gonna
15 years
go
ago, he'd be 65, he would have been, right?
well,
80 minus
according
15.
to he in 2000 what I just Googled it really quick,
Got it.
66 in
Okay.
2008. That's how old
Okay.
he actually was, about 66.
Got it.
Right?
Okay.
So for the purposes of this, I'm going to say that it's going to open to 66. But I do think, again, I do think it'll do better over the holiday weekend because
Mm,
of the oldsters. So number one, Indy opens with 66.
okay.
Okay. Number two, Spider Man Across the Spider Verse. It's still going strong. It's a phenomenon, and this
Mhm.
thing is going to continue its reign. And then number 3 is gonna be Elemental.
Wow. Okay.
Number 4 is gonna be No Hard Feelings. Now, okay, the drop for Elemental, I think, is gonna be in the 40s.
Okay.
The drop for No Hard Feelings, I think, is going to be lower. I do think this thing could hold.
Yeah.
Because there's some really good word of mouth. There's some unfortunate incidents going on at viewings, and we
Yeah,
won't
we
get
won't
into
touch on
them,
that. Nope.
but it's showing that people are passionate about this film. So, No Hard Feelings, I think, is going to be number 4, and I think the drop is gonna be in the 30s.
Can I give you some boots on the ground reporting that I got just this morning on this
Sure, and
movie?
this is one of the reasons why I'm saying this.
Yeah, so I was on a call with wannabe O intern Christopher. We're
Mhm.
planning our San Diego Comic-Con reporting, and he just saw No Hard Feelings this on opening weekend with several of his college friends, and said first of all it was a packed screening. He told me that it was a lot of young people. The movie, like it did when we saw it, he said it played great. People were laughing, and we talked about last week. Is there a scene in this movie that people talk about? The beach scene. I won't go any further, but he said the beach scene went over like gangbusters. People could not believe what they were seeing. And then he told several of his friends about the beach scene. Actually, this is what he told me happened. He showed them the beach scene because they found the movie on the internet.
Okay.
He showed them the beach scene, but here's the thing, his friends that he showed it to, because I asked him, so now they saw the scene. Does that mean they're done seeing the movie? And he said no, they are now going to go watch the movie rather than watch the rest of it on the internet. So that is how young people operate these days. You know, they
Yeah.
have access to everything, but I guess they're willing to pay for something if they think it's special. And that beach scene, we may be underestimating it. You know, we put the hair gel scene from Something About Mary. It's in a lofty, lofty place. And obviously, we don't think anything could touch it. But perhaps this beach scene from No Hard Feelings is going to get the young people out and it's going to become a legendary scene. I mean, that's the
So,
reporting that we got from Christopher.
I think this movie could make 10,000,000 this weekend.
I mean, that would be a pretty good hold. It would only be dropping like 33% if that's the
Mhm.
case from 15 million.
And then 5, I go with Ruby Gillman. I believe Teenage Kraken. Let's do it. Let's go.
All right. So that is your top five. I'm going to now predict my top five.
Okay.
Number one is going to be Phoebe Waller Bridge in Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. So she gets her first number one opening at the box office. but I do think
I
it
don't think
may.
that's true. She was the voice of that robot in Solo, and wasn't
But we
Solo
get
number
to
1?
see her. She's the lead. She's co-lead. So I'm counting this as her first big number one opening for Phoebe Waller-Bridge. But I do think it opens to less than the age that Harrison Ford was when he starred in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I think this
So this is
opens
a
to about six.
Flash.
I think it opens to about 63 or 64. It's an
Okay.
older audience, and I think they're going to wait.
Mhm.
So I'm picking a number one, 63 or 64. Number two at the box office will be the success story that is Elemental. Elemental will be number two. Then I'm going Spider Man Across the Spider Verse will be number three. Number four, I
What's your
agree.
elemental
No,
drop?
oh, I think it's going to drop. Last week it dropped 38%. This week I think it drops lower in the 30s. I think the hold improves this week because last week Spider-Man made 19 million, Elemental made 18.4, so they were neck and neck. And I think Elemental just has a better hold this weekend. I think there's some buzz around this movie. So I think that's
Oh,
number
wow, it
2.
has a better hold than a movie that's been out for 5 weekends
I
and already
so
has made over 300 almost $350 million?
I
Wow.
understand you have an anti-Pixar
Awesome.
grudge, but that is that is the case here. Elemental is going to have a very good hold, and that'll be number 2. Spider-Man number 3. Agree, no hard. Yeah, I mean, I agree. No hard feelings is probably. I think it's going to make over $10 million as well. I think it's going to really start to leg out, and it could do $10 or $11 million at number 4,
I mean,
and then
there's a
number.
world where this beats Spider-Man.
There is. I mean, there definitely is because last weekend Spider-Man made 19 million. Does it drop 50%, which puts it in 9 or 10 million? Possible, but it seems like it's holding better than that. So I think
Mhm.
Spider-Man ends up at like 12 or 13 million. Elemental, I think, gets to around 14 million. And I think No Hard Feelings could do 10 or 11. And then number 5, I mean, Adam from the Stacks. I'm going with your movie here, Sound of Freedom, starring Jim Caviezel, because I'm seeing the ticket sales. They've sold at least $5 or $6 million worth of tickets already. So I think this. I haven't seen Ruby Gilman Teenage Kraken with a ticket counter online. I don't know if that sold $5 or $6 million worth of tickets. I mean, it definitely hasn't. So I think Sound of Freedom will be in the top 5 this weekend.
I The reason I didn't go with Sound of Freedom is
Mhm.
because I don't know what the reporting is gonna look like on these Sunday numbers,
I
because
mean,
I think this movie could, over its span, that the ticket buying is for, make more than Ruby Gilman, but is it going to be reflected in the actual top 10 that comes out on deadline, that comes out on the numbers? That's the thing. I am calling what I think is going to be reported.
okay. I'm calling what I think the actuals will be, and I think the actuals are going to be this movie's going to make over $6 million, and if it does that, it can't. If this movie makes $6 million this weekend, it can't finish any lower than number 5 because Ruby Gilman will not be making $6 million. It just will not happen.
Mhm.
So I think that's your number 5. It's going to be very interesting. I am very, very excited to see these numbers on Monday morning and see where we're at.
Yeah, it's
So
just such a weird, why are they really and I'm only seeing July 3rd, Monday,
July,
as the
July
first
3rd.
day.
I mean, he says that this is coming out on Sunday. And when it comes to these movies, I trust Adam from the Stacks' reporting. But we will see. We will
Unless
see.
unless the other ones are all sold out, unless Sunday ones are all sold out. I don't know. I mean, I think this is not gonna be reflected on the weekend numbers, because if this is a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, if that's what this is, then
We're going to
it's not gonna be
find out.
reported.
We're going to
Okay.
find out. So
So
Clayton,
confused by this rollout.
I think we've done it here. So of course, everyone email us at theboboyspodcast@gmail.com. We love getting your predictions. We love getting your boots on the ground reporting, of course. So email theboboyspodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on social media at the BO Boys Pod on Twitter. And soon it's happening. We're going to be on TikTok, Clayton. That is in the works right now. Wannabe intern Christopher, as we speak, is prepping the TikTok account. We will not be
Right. I mean, I'll never
dancing,
see it.
but
I'll
you'll
never
be
see
on
it,
it.
but
You'll be all
I'll be
over it.
on it. I'll be all
You will
over it, but
be a
I will never
TikTok
see it.
star. You'll be a
Yeah.
TikTok star, but you'll never have to see it. But that
Well,
is happening.
that's like a riddle. What are you all over, but you'll never see?
TikTok. Yeah.
TikTok.
Yeah. So we will announce that handle as soon as it is up, but start getting excited now to follow us on TikTok. Of course, follow us on Twitter at the BO Boys Pod. We are YouTubers, so go subscribe, smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, and ring the bell. Ring that
Yep.
bell.
Ring that bell.
Our YouTube is blowing up, and again, wannabe intern Christopher and I had a meeting at BOHQ, and we've got a lot of fun stuff planned for the YouTube channel. It's gotten to a point where you can't experience everything just listening to the podcast. You have to follow us on the YouTube channel. It is a multi-platform experience now for the BO Boys. So follow us, subscribe on YouTube, give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, tell your friends to start listening to the BO Boys. And yeah, I mean, I think that's it, Clayton. I think we've done it.
Yeah, I think we did it. I don't think there's anything left to say
No.
except for until next time.
Will
We'll
smell
smell
you
you at
at the
the
box
box
office.
office.
Nailed it.
Nailed it.